So, ladies and gentlemen, dear alls, we are ready to start. Let's move to our first keynote session, which sets the stage, in fact, for everything that will follow over next 2 days. We will focus on the fundamental question, and we will try to find an answer. Not only one, but answers for those questions. How can research and innovation help Europe stay competitive in life science? And the second question, which is also quite important, why is this urgent? And we truly believe that it is urgent. So we are honored to welcome two exceptional perspectives. First, from the European Union perspective, Irene Norstedt, in a moment, Director for People, Health and Society within DG Research and Innovation. And in a moment, in about 15 minutes, I suppose, and the second perspective from the business frontlines and perspective of innovative business, as I said, in biotech, Paweł Przewięźlikowski, CEO of Ryvu Therapeutics. I will repeat once again the second keynote, but firstly, please welcome Irene. We are ready for your speech. So, Irene is with us. Thank you.
So, thank you for welcoming us here to Kraków, a beautiful city. And I hope that we will be able to see much more of it. So I will give you a short overview of the current political sort of landscape, I would say, that we do have in Europe. And it's very exciting times because we are really at the crossroads right now. We had the new commission coming in July 2024, and with a new focus, and the focus is on competitiveness, security, and resilience. And of course, it is really to make sure that we would ensure Europe's sustainable prosperity and competitiveness. And this is a little bit a new orientation that we do have compared to the past. There has been a number of reports coming out over this last year, really pointing out some of the urgent needs that we do have in Europe to make sure that we can reach such a competitiveness situation. We have the Letta report, we have the Draghi report, and we have the Hayter report. Not so long ago, we also had the competitiveness compass that is really giving a directionality in terms of a strategic and clear framework to really steer the work of the Commission in the coming years. As with every new commission, there is also, as you know, a set of commissioners, and there are mission letters coming out to each one, giving them their dossiers. And there are in particular two that are very important for the life sciences. One is, of course, the mission letter of the Commissioner of Research and Innovation, Ekaterina Zakharieva, and that letter has instructed her to come with a life sciences strategy, and I will tell you more about it very soon. And of course, the mission letter for Commissioner Varhelyi, who is the Commissioner for Health, and he has an instruction to come with a Biotech Act, and that one is foreseen to come next year. So it's very exciting times. It's also exciting because we're also at the crossroad of the European budget. And there has recently been an open consultation on how Europe would like to see the budget. It closed last week. And some early figures, as you see there, this is what the consultation resulted in. And it was very interesting to see that actually most of the responses came from Romania. You may have expected it to come from some of the sort of older, bigger countries that has been members of the EU, but Romania has been very, very active. I'm very happy to see that, and Germany and Poland is actually in the third place in terms of responding to this one. And you also see the type of entities who has responded to this one. The new budget will be presented sometimes in July, towards mid-July, and that will really take us forward in the coming 7 years as of 2028 forward. And that is really, really important for us. So that consultation was really vital. I'm now coming back to the life science strategy. And we were very pleased when the President von der Leyen was really emphasizing the area of life sciences in her inaugurative speeches in the guidelines that she has provided. And she's really saying that we really need to build on the biotechnology and the digital revolutions or evolutions that we have, and to really make Europe very, very strong in this area. And therefore she has really, put forward a number of initiatives, and I will soon show you many more of them, that are really also putting science in the focus. And I think that's quite a long time since we saw that science has moved up on the political agenda so high, and really to put it in the core of the coming new policies. And we are very pleased to see that. But for us who are in the area, of course we know, because science is the core of the engine. Innovation is the engine of the economy. So we are very happy that this also is recognized on the highest political level. So what are life sciences? Well, it is a very, very broad area. And it is the study of living systems, from cells to microorganisms, plants, animals, human beings, and to ecosystems and their interconnectedness. So it's an extremely broad area. And we often forget how vital life sciences is for our daily lives. It's really, really important for all of us. And it is, of course, also transforming many different sectors. Of course, we think of health as primarily one, but we also have, of course, food, agriculture. But we often forget that it's also core for forestry, for the chemical sectors. A lot of industrial technologies are really, really benefiting from the life sciences and biotechnology in particular. Even the energy sector is benefiting from life sciences and the biosector. So sometimes we forget because we're so focused on the health aspect. There has been sort of three communications sort of in this area. We had a life science and biotechnology strategy in 2002, more than 20 years ago, so it really is high time that we do update it. There was a communication on biotechnology and biomanufacturing in 2024, and there has been two bioeconomy strategies in 2012 and 2018. But we are now working on a set of more strategies to come now this year and in the coming years. And why is life sciences so important for us? Well, it is important because actually it employs in Europe 29 million people. That is quite substantial. And it is actually contributing to 10% of the GDP in Europe. And I think we can actually increase this figure if we really play our cards very well in the coming years. We also know that we are less successful than many other regions. We are excellent in science, but we are not the best in translating it into the true innovations and to bringing those to the benefit of the citizens. It's often picked up by other regions in the world, and it's something that we really need to focus on now, and to make sure that we can have the right support systems in place to make sure that we can harvest everything that we do actually come from our scientific discoveries in Europe. I mentioned that there are many new initiatives in pipeline. So we have a startup and scale-up strategy, and we know that it's the life sciences sector is incredibly strong in Europe in terms of small companies. If we look at the portfolio of our European Innovation Council, about half of their portfolio is actually life science companies. And we need to do much more to make sure that these companies are well supported and they also can grow and stay in Europe. There will come a research and technology infrastructure strategy. We often forget how important the research infrastructures are. It's really an asset in Europe. We do have many in the life sciences area. Some of them are actually not so well known, but they should be much better promoted and supported because they're really, really vital, and it's an important support system for the growth of this sector. We have the AI in science strategy. AI is coming fast in all sectors, and there's again much more that we need to do to support a proper use of this sector and the access to AI and the support systems that is needed to apply the AI. There will come a bioeconomy strategy and also Biotech Act towards end of 25, but also in 2026. We have the European Innovation Act that also will come in 2026, a European Research Area Act in 2026. Of course, they are sector agnostic, as we call it, but hugely important for research and innovation in general in Europe. And there will also come an Advanced Materials Act. And we often forget that that is a hugely important area also for life sciences. If we think about all our medical devices and diagnostics, and also if we just think in the hospital setting, how much materials actually are used. So another really important one that is also coming next year. And then, of course, we do have the strategy for European life sciences that will come already in July. The date set for its adoption is 2nd of July. So we're working really intensively back in the offices in Brussels to develop this strategy. And this strategy will be an umbrella strategy, and it should identify the key challenges and opportunities and how to drive the innovation growth and impact across Europe, and really how we can support our green and digital transitions. So in preparation of this strategy, we launched a so-called call for evidence, and we actually had almost 800 responses. So there is a huge interest in this area. And you see the countries here who have been most active has been Spain, Belgium, Germany, Netherlands, and Austria. And what comes out of this strategy, and we're very happy because what has come out of this strategy, of this call for evidence, and what is felt across Europe that we should focus on very much echoes the thoughts that we had also when we started to work on this strategy. So in particular, of course, how can we translate and take up all the scientific and technological advancements that we have? What about the funding, the investments, the regulatory environment, the IP rights, talents and skills, infrastructures and services, data AI, the greening of research also. We often think of research as a contributor to greening, but we need to think of how to greening our research as well. How to green the industrial sectors, and of course societal engagement, and to further build trust in science. We know this is a very important area as well. And of course the main sector-specific areas to be looked at that was the advice given to us is, of course, health, food, environment, and there were some very specific areas that came in, and this is just one example, and that was research into neurodegeneration and brain iron accumulation. So you can see the breadth of the type of information that came into us. So how to drive the change for a more competitive Europe? So sustainable competitiveness, it sounds like a nice cliche, but we really need to think, how on earth are we going to do that in practice? We talked about, we have so many small startups and small companies in Europe, but often they are bought up by bigger companies, etc. But how do we make sure that we also support the scale up and for these companies to be able to grow solidly and to stay with us in Europe? How do we enhance strategic autonomy? We do know that there are a lot of geopolitical reflections right now and very much challenges, so we also need to think about how to be better self-sustainable. How do we accelerate the uptake of our digital opportunities? And of course also, how do we support the greening of the sectors? How to reinforce leadership? How to attract, retain, and develop talents? And the technology push versus societal pull, address the needs of citizens and patients and society at large. And we do know that innovation is complex, and we are strong believers that collaboration is an absolute must in the life science sector. And of course, we should build on our assets, and we do have enormous assets in Europe. Often we are not so good at actually promoting those, and we should be much more proud of what we have as well. We do have brilliant people in Europe. We do have brilliant ideas. And something that has really come to the front, looking at what is happening across the Atlantic, we do have scientific freedom. We do support diversity, equality, and inclusion. And we also forget quite often that we have stable investments in research and innovation. Europe is quite unique with the multi-annual financial framework, which gives a stable budget for 7-year periods. The current period lasts to 2027. And then comes a new 7-year period starting 2028. And that means that during such a 7-year period, we do know what budget we will have. And that is quite unique because in most countries and for most research funders, you operate on an annual budget. And we often forget that we do have this enormous benefit in Europe. We actually have the world's largest international research program, Horizon Europe. And what's unique with this is that, of course, we support European researchers, but it is open to researchers from across the world. We do have a culture of collaboration, which is hugely important, because very few can actually have the idea and to really work and bring it to the market or to the end use themselves. You need to collaborate to achieve all that, and we do have such a culture in Europe. And as you have seen, we have an incredibly strong political commitment right now in Europe to put research and innovation at the heart of the European competitiveness. And I think that some of you are aware, or most of you are aware, that we do have a great opportunity now, and last week was the big conference in Paris, where the Commission also announced the big efforts now in also attracting competences to Europe, some part back to Europe, but also to attract new competences into Europe. We have a great opportunity right now, also in terms of growing and further build our competences in Europe. So thank you so much for listening. It's a pleasure to be here and happy to discuss further with you throughout the days.
Thank you so much. Irene Norstedt. And surprise. As I said before, we've got 2 keynote speakers at the beginning of the conference. Once again, Irene Norstedt. Thank you. Good cooperation. Thank you. And we are waiting for the strategy for 2025 and next years. And our second keynote speaker, please welcome once again, let me repeat, Paweł Przewięźlikowski, CEO of Ryvu Therapeutics. Please join us on stage. Welcome.
Okay, very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that you appreciated in the morning that we wanted to make Kraków more like Brussels or Amsterdam. We need, good political, power. We need, one of the best biotech clusters in the world. So, rain is included, has to be included. Actually, when I was thinking about how to deliver this presentation, I had many ideas, but I wanted to start with an image that I just photographed myself last week in Kraków. So, this is a construction site of a major, perhaps one of the biggest hospitals in the city. And what's striking on this picture for me is, of course, it's a big hospital. You cannot see it maybe here, but, they are boasting that they've been building this, site for more than 900 days without any accident. And, this means that even, on the outside it's not ready. So probably it will take 4 years to construct a building. when we were building our research site, also with big administration, installations, air conditioning, heating, you know, all the GLP lab norms and everything, it took us 18 months. So, you know, that's the difference between the speed of the public sector in Poland or in the European Union and the speed of, you know, of a private sector. And, you know, we need to change this because we are, you know, the purpose of a hospital is to, you know, treat patients. Nobody is counting how many deaths could be avoided if this hospital were constructed in 2 years. We need to have a totally different mindset, thinking about new ventures in healthcare space in Europe. So I was also thinking, you know, what could be the symbol of the European Union in approach to healthcare innovation. And, you know, the only animal, there is no official animal, but I think that, you know, when Kazimierz was asking me, why do we meet? What's the purpose of this conference? Why do we have this conversation? Is because I think this animal is unfortunately the symbol of the European healthcare innovation. So, and today during the presentation, I would like to remind everyone why the healthcare sector, why the innovative healthcare sector is important, and why we have to think shorter, sorry, Irene, than in 7 you know, year budget terms. You know, 7 years ago, AI wasn't the household name. Nobody was talking about, you know, ventures, etc. We need to think faster. Sorry for that. Why the biotech sector has a huge impact on the European economic area, and what are the challenges that we are facing, and what we can do about clinical trials, because we are also losing the edge in clinical trials. So maybe, you know, for everybody who is maybe not a healthcare specialist, it will be important to remind that actually in the healthcare space, Europe plays on par against the US and China on a global scale. Of course, we have much better healthcare outcomes versus GDP than the US, and we should be very proud of that. And economically, you know, the European pharmaceutical companies still count, and biotech companies still count. So this is a slightly complicated chart that on the x-axis show the, you know, the revenues, the capitalization of companies, which is like a kind of indicator of future profits. And on the y-axis, we have revenues. So we have 4 quadrants, and we can divide global companies or global economies into these 4 quadrants. And obviously, Europe doesn't have too many, for example, software or AI companies that would be public, and, you know, we would be able to compete globally, perhaps apart from the French Mistral. Europe doesn't have a lot of manufacturing. Europe does have a lot of, you know, clothing like, you know, Hermes and, you know, LVMH, etc., which are global leaders. But, you know, I don't think that, you know, it's the only thing that we should be proud of. We have also automotive industry, but globally it's not growing. You cannot drive 2 cars at the same time. And an average patient in our clinical trials takes 20 drugs in 3 weeks, because we are talking about, you know, serious, you know, diseases like AML. So the global market for drugs is growing by 5% each year, and Europe has to play in this market. 5 out of top 12 global pharmaceutical companies are located in Europe. Most of them, unfortunately, not in the European Union, rather in the UK than in Switzerland. And maybe there is a reason for this as well, but only you know, 1 of top 5 is actually headquartered in Europe. Fortunately, the largest, Novo Nordisk. We have also a vibrant biotech sector with the largest companies located in major biotech clusters in Brussels, the Netherlands, and Germany, but also, you know, smaller countries, maybe less advanced like Poland, are also developing the biotech sector. So biotech, pharma is a really European scale venture, and I think we need to support it in all European countries. Unlike the US, where there is Boston, you know, San Francisco, San Diego, in Europe the innovation is distributed, and I think most European countries will be proud to have a little bit of the sector. What we can see as well is that, if we talk about pharmaceutical innovation, it's the biotech companies that provide most of innovation. So we cannot just support the established players, large pharma companies with tax breaks for manufacturing, etc. If we want to have innovative medicine, we also need to support biotech companies because they provide the transfer between academia, pharma companies and patients, and they do it much more effectively than large engines of pharmaceutical companies. Unfortunately, in this game, we are losing. We are losing badly against China primarily, which has emerged as the top biotech company cluster or group of companies. There are about 3,000 biotech companies in China right now. Probably the number has grown 10 times over the last years, and they are taking an emerging, an increasing market share in licensing, in approved drugs, and so on and so on. Just over the last 5 years, the value of upfronts and biodollars that the Chinese companies got from big pharma companies in licensing deals grew about 10 times. In oncology, China's market share in innovative transactions over the last 15 months has grown to 60%. 60% of the market has been taken from companies like Ryvu, like MorphoSys and many others by Chinese companies. We should learn from them. We cannot just say that China is different, that they will not come after us. Biotech is now like automotive sector. We are on the verge of extinction if the current policies are not changed. And the current policies look like this. We have it takes about 4 years from the moment someone in Brussels thinks, let's do something, to the moment that funds are released to an innovator that is applying for a grant. And it applies both to programs such as Horizon or Mission Cancer or whatever, and it also applies to programs such as funds for innovative economy that are distributed at the country level. Come on, 3-4 years from a moment that there is some idea, maybe some scientific publication, to the moment that an innovator can start working, doesn't work like this. If we don't change this, we are done. We will, we'll be just a museum. And, it's maybe the last moment where we can have call to action. Maybe if the experts work too slowly, we should outsource the grant evaluation to artificial intelligence. I don't know what can be done. But probably there are many people in this room who could do something about it. It's here, I would like to give you an example of an initiative which is called Important Projects of Common European Interest, IPCI. In the health program, there was some idea in 2021 when the European Union told countries, okay, please, collect programs at the national scale. Then, just kind of go to the European level, and it took about 2 or 3 years to decide which projects are important. And since these projects were selected in the first half of 2024, and the Polish government hasn't done anything with it. So now we are waiting for 1 year before the Polish government does anything about it. This is how the IPCI important projects work in reality. 3-4 years without any decision. Another challenge that we are facing are grant evaluation. Many grants in Poland, at least, are evaluated on a 0-1 basis. Is it innovative or not? Is the company viable or not? And so on and so on. So imagine, telling experts, asking experts a question. Is Mona Lisa beautiful? 0-1. This is how innovation is currently evaluated in the European programs implemented by the Polish government. Another thing, we fight cancer. We fight cancer with programs such as European Union Mission Cancer. There is no program in Horizon Mission Cancer that supports cancer drug discovery. Really, you can check it out. I can provide you a copy of this presentation. There's just diagnostics, building networks, etc. But actually, we want a cure for cancer. the European Union doesn't support a cure for cancer. Another challenge, specifically in Poland, since 2021, no Polish biotech company has got a grant for a novel chemical entity or biological entity discovery. The Polish government only funds clinical trials, only funds through Agency for Medical Research. It funds, new formulations or drugs or combinations or whatever. For 2 years, the Law and Justice government was quarreling with the European Union. There were no grants at all. And the new government that is in power has really not done anything yet over the last, 18 months since they were elected. There is no money for innovative biotechs. The sector has real problems. What we observe that, at conferences like this, the governments, the administration is supportive, and then, then engage in a dialogue, and then, in the corridors of some, ministers, some anonymous officials make decisions, and then, the thing is totally the opposite to what was discussed in public fora. So, for example, yesterday I found that, the Polish government in the new program for biotech doesn't want to, fund new chemical entities. They don't want to fund small molecules, just cell and gene therapies, because 5 years ago, cell and gene therapies were all the fad. Now they are fading away. And the largest number of companies originating in the US are small molecule companies, but the Polish government thinks, despite the fact that 80% of Polish companies are small molecule companies, that we shouldn't fund such things. And without even talking to the sector. So what we need to have is a European fast track for drug discovery projects with quick evaluation, least tolerant funding, program for European partnership dedicated to drug discovery and development, faster evaluation. Another issue, maybe I will just be a little bit over time, are clinical trials, which are very important for patients. They give us access to drugs, and especially with Donald Trump, expecting U.S. companies in the U.S. to charge less, the European government, the U.S. government, drugs will get more expensive in Europe. So having clinical trials is also a way to make drugs more accessible. What is happening? The US holds steady. China is growing, almost as big as the US, and Europe and Japan is losing ground. So it's not just that China is growing. The US does something well. We in Europe, in clinical trial system, do something wrong, because it's possible really to really maintain the market share. How? For example, in oncology, the US, the number of trials in oncology has grown 25% in the US. In Europe, it has declined 22%. These are real numbers. We can talk about policies. We can talk about, that we are supporting something. The outcomes are miserable. One of the reasons, slow trial approval. When Ryvu files a protocol for a clinical trial, it takes us 2 months to receive a permit. If we want to change the protocol or the country, another 2 months. So if we want to both change a protocol and add a new country in the European Union, 4 months. Come on. 4 months for a small amendment to a clinical trial that has already been approved. So we need to accelerate the regulatory timelines. We need to streamline submission requirements through the European Union. For example, if a trial is approved in Poland, it has to be approved also in Italy without any questions. Or let's make, the national regulatory authorities just divisions of EMA, so that we have a single European market for clinical trials. No, same with patents. We don't need local patent organizations. Let the local patent offices become divisions of the European Patent Office. If we don't do it, we are fragmented, we are not competitive. So, there are ways how we can boost, enrollment in clinical trials, building databases. I would like to show maybe one example. Polish Agency for Medical Research provide a tool where you can search for sites, patients, and usually CROs, provide it. But in case of ABM, it's the Polish government that provides such tool. So, I think that we have a serious problem, and that's why this conference makes a lot of sense to talk about such problems and maybe develop solutions. Pharma and biotech is an important economic engine of Europe, and we need to make something to, support this engine. We need to do something to make sure patients are participating in clinical trials, and I think that we can make even a snail dance if we just try harder. So the last maybe thing, what I hope that the outcome of this conference is going to be an innovative hospital providing patients with drugs discovered in Europe by European biotech and pharma companies. That can be the outcome of LifeScience4EU if we work together intensely over the next 2 days. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paweł Przewięźlikowski. And a little surprise as well and gift from the city of Kraków.